All right, that's our very own Seaside band. Ooh. Every Sunday morning we get blessed. We're blessed with the starting out of music to get our soul stirred up a little bit. And I'm going to keep this going for you this morning. Yay. Oh. Try to get us anchored in this morning. Thank you for everybody tuning in and joining us. Take a look inside yourself and know you are enough. Be patient as the Spirit grows within. Don't put your life up on the shelf whenever times get tough. You've been created to win. The answer lies within you. Yes, the answer lies within you. Take a look inside yourself and know you are enough. Be patient as the Spirit grows within. Don't put your life up on the shelf whenever times get tough. You've been created to win. The answer lies within you. Yes, the answer lies within you. Yes, the answer lies within you. Hey.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so beautiful, Rebecca.
Thank
The
you.
answer lies within you. Another original?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So good.
Thank you.
So good. So the CD's coming.
Yes. We're aiming for that. Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Thank you for keep
2021.
reminding me of
I
that.
am going to keep reminding you. Oh gosh. And you had another home concert?
I did yesterday. Yeah, it was good. I had started out with little technical difficulties, but we figured it out and got through it. And
Very
everything,
cool.
And it was good. It was
We
really
had
good.
a fun last week with you and the concert.
God, that was
and
really
Ray
wonderful.
Davis.
I
and
hope,
Danielle.
and Danielle. I hope everybody that tuned in really enjoyed it. It was such a pleasure, and of course our awesome band backing us up.
It was really fun. It's on the Facebook on the website. If y'all didn't get to see it, it's there. So tune in.
Yeah.
Great. And you got any more gigs coming up?
Yeah,
What's
actually,
happening?
in 2 weeks, if anybody, I'm doing a virtual concert with Dave Koz. It'll be myself, Dave Koz, Jonathan Butler, Richard Elliott, a lot of saxophone players,
Cool.
David Benoit on piano. It's going to be an incredible concert. It's going to be on Saturday, December 12th, so it's 12/12 at 5 o'clock, and
5
tickets can
o'clock.
be purchased at davekoz.com.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm
Okay.
excited about that.
Good. Send me the link. I'll put
You
it on
got
our
it.
Facebook. Okay,
You got it.
cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Welcome. It's so good to have you here with us online, live streaming. Please know we are live in the meditation garden at 9 o'clock. We had service this morning. As long as the weather holds, we're going to be out there. And as soon as we can come back indoors, we will. As soon as they release the restrictions, we'll come back indoors. So grateful that you're here with us any way that you show up, either whether here or in person. Dr. Christian is in Montana. He is back in his Mystic Mountain with his beautiful wife, Callie, and his son, Trevor, and enjoying some Thanksgiving getaway. So he will be back with us next Sunday. But for now, he's enjoying some time off up in the mountains. It's really good to be here with you today. I hope you had a really beautiful Thanksgiving, whatever you did. To start us off this morning, to continue us in this anchoring into this moment and this time and this place, is a wonderful Seaside practitioner. I'd like to invite up to the stage now, Sharon Ray De Leon.
And so I light this light. This is what we do at the beginning of our service here at Seaside. And I light this light so that I can remember the light that's within me. And I remember and hold for you the light that's in you. And so just knowing that that light represents the wisdom, the knowing that each practitioner here holds for each one at Seaside, that high watch that each minister, each practitioner holds. And so I just know that that light is powerful and it is one, it is perfection. And so I just want to invite you into the stillness. I rejoice, for this is the day that God hath made. I rejoice in its oneness, its wholeness, and its perfection. For I know that everything that I need and everything that you need has already been called forward. It has already been given. For I know that it is God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. And so I know that I am one with the Father, that the Father and I are one, and that each one here and each one at the sound of my voice is one with the Father, never separate and never alone. I rejoice, for this is the day that God hath made. And I know that the activity that takes place right here, right now, is a greater ability to receive it and to allow it. And so I open to this day. I open to this service in community. I open to the love, the joy, the freedom, the beauty, and the wholeness. I receive it. I allow it. And I'm grateful. And so it is. For this is the day that God hath made.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are is a blessing to the world, is a blessing to the world.
So beautiful. Oh, and here is a reading for today. And I've chosen it out of this book called Daily Meditations for Practicing the Course by Karen Casey. It's entitled, We Have a Lifeline to God. Nearly every day, something happens that triggers fear in us. People criticize us. Family members don't answer our calls. Job interviews get canceled. We shudder with fear, trying to manage the everyday uncertainties. If only we'd remember that we have access to the perfect manager for every situation. Our experiences here in this illusionary world have been requested by us. That doesn't mean we'll know how to handle any of them. It simply means that what we need to learn while in these bodies is contained within the situations that beckon. We'll assimilate them far more successfully if we seek the company of the Spirit while we explore and absorb them. Nothing comes to us can really harm us if we see it through the eyes of God. And this perspective is always with us. If we're filled with fear or anger at any time, we need to tug on our lifeline. God can't help us, ever, if we don't initiate his involvement.
All right, beautiful reading. Thank you so much. Good morning, Seaside. Thank you to everybody joining us. And as you all know, it is my honor to introduce our guest artist on Sunday mornings. And we just love this person so much. He drove all the way down from Los Angeles to be here with us. This is the first time he's been here with us since the pandemic. So it's been many, many months since he's been able to join us. And we're so glad that you did. Thank you so much. He did amazing, beautiful 2 songs for our 9 a.m. service in person, and we hope you're going to be just as touched by these songs as we were this morning already. So without further ado, help me welcome Jamie Lula.
Good morning, Seaside. Grateful that you're all here this morning, or there, wherever. When I got the notice of the topic, what the bleep do I have to be grateful for, it made me think of a woman that I'd seen in a 12-step meeting one day who said, regardless of all the religious upbringing and church that I've been to, I've never experienced God before. And I just thought, oh, wow. So I went and wrote this song called In the Smallest Ways, for all, just a smidgen of the ways that I witness God in and as my life. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. From a red bud on my favorite rose bush to the smile on a grandmother's face, to the dew on a single blade of grass, I keep seeing in the smallest ways. From the hoot of an old horned owl to the laughter of children at play, to the first whistle passing my son's lips, I keep hearing in the smallest ways. When I pay such close attention, there's no judgment in my life, there's only love in the smallest ways, in the smallest ways. From the birth of my only baby song that I've sung full of grace. Loss of a mentor not meant to be mine, I keep feeling in the smallest ways. From a breath of night blooming jasmine to your scent permeating my days, I can call to mind what I can't find. I keep breathing in the smallest ways. When I pay such close attention, there's no judgment in my life. There's only love in the smallest ways. In the smallest ways. In the smallest ways. Come on, Bob. To the tear that I stole from your face, and gelato we shared on the boulevard, I keep falling in the smallest ways. When I give into sweet surrender, and I know that God is in this place, there's only love in the smallest ways. Smallest ways I keep seeing, in the smallest ways I keep hearing, in the smallest ways I keep feeling, in the smallest ways I keep breathing, in the smallest ways I keep falling. Here we go. In the smallest ways.
Yes. Thank you, Jamie. Oh, in the smallest ways. I love it. God is everywhere we look, in the little smallest ways. I love that. Oh, gosh. Yes, as Jamie said, my talk title today is What the Do I Have to Be Grateful For? You know, and it's Thanksgiving weekend, and I know Dr. Christian talked about gratitude last week, and you know, it's just that time, November, but I started thinking about, this time in our world and what's going on, and it's kind of cuckoo. It seems like nobody's in charge. It seems like things are going from bad to worse. We're shut down again. We're locked in again. The numbers seem to be rising in the pandemic, and it's, things have been canceled. People are sick. People are dying. What is going on? It seems as if all the fun has been canceled. There's nothing going on, there's no theater, there's no live sports, there's no movies, there's no getting together with your girlfriends and hanging out or doing whatever the guys do and they hang out together, it's not happening. And then they tell us to be grateful. I'm like, really? Really? What am I being grateful for? Now, I know none of you are thinking these thoughts because you're all very good religious scientists, and of course we wouldn't go down that rabbit hole, right? But I'll tell you, sometimes I do think that. We're human beings, and we slip into fear, like Sharon was reading about, or we slip into anxiety, and the uncertainty is so unsettling. You know, there's an absolute pandemic of anxiety going on in the world. You know, I don't know if you're aware of the mental health issues that have been attached to this pandemic, that there's many people that are suffering. There's many people that are in their homes, they're isolated, they're alone, they may be elderly or not, you know, and they're afraid to go out. There's those that are experiencing anxiety for the very first time in their life. They've never had anxiety or panic attacks, and that's happening. You know, according to the reports, 4 in 10 adults ages 18 and older are reporting symptoms of anxiety or depression. I mean, that's a whole lot. That's 40% of our adults are experiencing something like that. And so it has me question, it has me think, well, where is God in all this? Where is God in all this? You know, has God gone into quarantine? Where is he? Where is she? Where is it? You know, there's a few stories I want to tell you. There's one about a family, a young family. Their last name is Yielding, Chuck and Lori Yielding. They have a 13-year-old son, Aiden. And Aiden had gotten very ill, and he was not getting better. He had the fevers and those flu-like symptoms that we associate with COVID. And weeks went by, and he didn't seem to be getting well. So his mother said, finally, I've got to take him to the doctors. We've got to go to the doctors. So she finally arranged for him to go see their family doctor. And after a whole battery of tests, after a whole series of tests, it was determined that Aiden had leukemia, not COVID. And this meant he had to do chemo, or they chose to do chemo. And every Tuesday for 3 hours, Aiden had to go and have chemotherapy. And because of the situation, only one of his parents could go with him. So mom was the chosen one to go in with him to do his chemo, but dad went with him to the hospital. Mom and dad and Aiden would go to the hospital, and dad would walk him to the hospital door, and then he would go wait in the parking lot as Aiden went upstairs to do his treatment. And one day, Aiden was really struggling. He was really down in the dumps, and they were talking on the telephone, dad in the parking lot and Aiden up in the chemo room, and he could see his dad out the window, and his dad started to do a dance. His dad started dancing and being silly and making Aiden laugh. And this has become one of their rituals. So every time now that Aiden goes to have chemo, dad is in the parking lot dancing. So Aiden will go up and they'll call each other and he'll say, okay, what dance moves do you want today? And dad will start dancing. There's pictures of him on the internet. He wears those like MC Hammer pants. Remember the MC Hammer pants and all these bright colors, and he's doing the sprinkler and he's doing the swim and he's doing all these silly dances to be with his son, to share the love with his son, to be there for his son. There's another family, the Cheeks are their last name, and Allie is 7 years old. She's about 7.5, and she had a twin sister, and her twin sister and her both were born with a rare genetic disorder, a mutation. It is so rare, in fact, that only 50 people in the entire world have been diagnosed with this disorder. And it took her sister's life last year. And so her twin sister has passed on, and their mom, Morgan, is now just caring for Allie, and knowing that it is coming to the end of Allie's time here on this planet. And she went to her neighbors and she said, you know what, don't judge us, but we're going to be putting up our Christmas lights really early this year because we want Allie to experience it. Allie just loves to see those lights. You know, Allie can't talk, she can't walk, but her mom says she sees the joy in her eyes at Christmas time with the lights. So just a few hours later, she got a knock on her door, and the neighbor said, you know what? Several of us are going to put up our Christmas lights too. And so early November, they put up their Christmas lights, and before you knew it, the whole neighborhood had their Christmas lights up. Many of them had written out Allie's name in lights on their lawn. And one of the neighbors gifted, to use a golf cart. So Allie and her mom and her brother could get in the golf cart and drive around at night and see all the Christmas lights. You know, God is everywhere. God is everywhere if we're willing to look, if we're willing to see. It's like Jamie's song, in the flowers, in the roses, in the smile, in a baby's laughter. God is everywhere. God is, even now, even in this pandemic, God is here. I assure you, God is not in quarantine. God is ever present. You know, we get to choose. We create, we choose. We get to choose our thoughts. We get to choose what we're looking at. You know, and you might say, Reverend Debbie, I can't choose to see the good right now. I'm in so much fear. I'm in so much anxiety. I'm so sad. You know, and if that is the case, if you're not able to pull yourself out from whatever it is you're experiencing, seek professional help. You're not alone. There's people here that can help you, whether it be a professional or one of our licensed practitioners that can help you, to lift you, to raise you to where you can see God, where you can see God again. You know, one of the greatest gifts of the pandemic, or one of the gifts, I don't know if I'd say it's the greatest gift, is that we all are connected electronically. Now, the World Wide Web had, connected us years ago, but many of us really didn't know how to use all the technology that's out there. And now we've reached this place where we know how to use it, right? My mom knows how to use Zoom, My mom can Venmo. My mom knows how to do these things, And I know how to do these things, Zoom has become kind of a everyday word now. We all know how to Zoom, and our commercials on TV are about people Zooming and forgetting to put their pants on. I don't know if you've seen that one. But technology is available. And so you don't have to be alone. We can be connected, together apart, as Dr. Christian always says. We're together apart. Ernest Holmes says this about fear. He wrote in the Science of Mind textbook, fear is a belief in limitation, a denial that the divine is the center and the source of all good. We must do all in our power to overcome it. To overcome fear is the greatest adventure of the mind of man. To overcome fear is the greatest adventure of the mind of man. What a great adventure that is. Can you imagine if we truly overcame fear? What could we do if we really knew that God is all there is? If we truly, absolutely knew. I've been listening to these audiobooks as I drive into work. I'm driving from Fallbrook, and it's like about a 30-minute drive, so I'll listen to the books on my way in and my way home. And one of the books I'm listening to right now is a Neil Donald Walsh book. It's Friendship with God. Friendship with God. It was written after his Conversation with God books, but it's not a new book. And what I love about the audio versions of Neil Donald Walsh's books is that Ed Asner and Ellen Bernstein play the voice of God. So you're listening to it and you're hearing these two great voices, God. And one of the things that they say, God says in the book, is that faith begins with hope. We're hoping, and then we move into believing. We move into believing, and then we move into knowing, absolute knowing. And I think that is one of the journeys that a practitioner makes in their training, of getting to that place of absolute knowing. So when they pray for you or for themselves or for whatever prayer there is, they are knowing, absolutely. They are speaking as God. They're speaking their word, that place of knowing. So our thoughts create our reality. What thoughts are we choosing? What are we choosing? Are we watching the news? Are we watching day in and day out? Are the numbers up? Are the numbers down? How many more people are sick? Who's getting well? What's happening? Are we that tied into it? Or are we allowing ourselves to step away, to see God, to move away from the fear, to move away from the sickness, and to move in this place? And if that fear does strike you, and if that anxiety does strike you, what tools do you have to bring yourself out? You can call a friend, you can call a practitioner, you can go for a walk, but one of the easiest, simplest things to do is to breathe. To just breathe. To take a big breath and release it. One of the exercises you can do, and do this along with me now, is you can breathe in to the count of 4, hold it to the count of 4, and release to the count of 4. You know, and if you can envision a circle going around you, the in-breath, you're going up to your crown chakra, and you hold it up here, allow it to circle back down, hold it at your root chakra, and before you know it, you're feeling this sense of peace, you're feeling a sense of balance. It's a wonderful, easy exercise that you can do anywhere, any place. Rebecca Berry, one of our ministers, Reverend Rebecca, she teaches a breathwork workshop. And she's been doing that for several months now, and she offers it completely as a love offering. It's online. You can sign up on our website. It's twice a month. And you just learn some breathing techniques. So that's another thing that you can do to have in your back pocket. You know, the pandemic has caused this uncertainty, this not really knowing, you know, and one of the things that I discovered that I've learned recently is that our brains are actually hardwired for certainty. They're hardwired to know what is happening. You know, so this not knowing, I mean, even in normal times, living in the not knowing is challenging. You know, it's challenging for a lot of us. But according to Dr. Christine Carr, living with so much uncertainty is hard. Human beings crave information about the future in the same way we crave food, sex, and other primary rewards. Our brains perceive ambiguity as a threat, and they try to protect us by diminishing our ability to focus on anything other than certainty. Wow. I mean, this is a real bummer for control freaks, right? I mean, what do we do when we don't know? When we don't know. Mathematician John Paulos, he wrote, uncertainty is the only certainty there is, right? The only thing we know for sure is change, right? That everything's going to change, right? So living in this place of uncertainty, you know, in this time, the security, the certainty, I believe, can only be found in our relationship with the divine. That one true thing that will never leave us, never desert us, never blow us off is spirit, is source. Do we absolutely know that God's got our back? Do we absolutely know that nowhere we can go that spirit is not, right? That wherever we are, God is, closer than our hands or feet, closer than our very breath. God is. Little story, I've told it a bunch of times, but I'm going to tell it again. The story about the tightrope walker, because I think it illustrates the difference between believing and knowing. You know, there's a little tightrope walker, and he's walking way up high on the wire, and he's pushing a little wheelbarrow, and there's two guys on the ground, two people, and the one person says to the other person, do you believe that he will make it across that wire? And the guy says, oh yeah, I believe he'll make it, sure, no problem. And then the person says, do you have faith? Do you have faith that he will make it across the wire? And the person says, oh yeah, I have faith. And he says, then get in the wheelbarrow. Right? Do we have that kind of faith? Are we willing to get in 100%, full on, knowing that Spirit's got us? Are we willing to get in the wheelbarrow? Do we have that kind of knowing? Do we have that kind of faith? How different would we behave if we knew? I mean, think about it. Think about your life. What would you do different if you absolutely knew there was nothing you could do that would be a mistake? There was nothing you could do that would take you off track? There was nothing you could do that didn't turn out marvelous? What would you do differently if you absolutely knew that Spirit was with you every second? The truth is that we're made up of God's stuff. We are spirit and form. So the truth is that there is no place we can go that God is not. That God is right here, right now, even in this world that looks like maybe God's taking a nap. God's not. Spirit's not. Ernest Holmes, again, in the Science of Mind textbook, he says, the greatest good that can come to anyone is the forming within him of an absolute certainty of himself and of his relationship to the universe, forever removing the sense of heaven as being outside himself. This understanding will rob man of his loneliness and give him a sense of security which knows no fear, a peace without which no life can be happy, a poise which is founded on this peace, and a power which is the result of the union of peace with poise. A life without fear, the greatest adventure of the mind, Ernest said. Am I placing my trust in limited man or unlimited God? There's this book called God's Stories. Every good minister has, like, where can you find these great stories, right? And I came across this book, God's Stories, Inspiring Encounters with the Divine by Jennifer Skiff. Now, Jennifer was a investigative journalist. That's how she spent her career for 20 plus years. And one day in her journeys as a journalist, one of her people that she was interviewing asked her what was her God's story. And it got her thinking, because she had God stories from when she was little, and she had God stories in her life. And I think we all have some God stories, you know, or at least we think maybe it might have been God. We're not 100% sure, but we have something that we think might have been God tapping us on the shoulder, you know. And Jennifer set about interviewing people for their God stories and created this book. And she had her own stories, and she writes about them in the book. But I want to share one with you. This is a gentleman, Stephen Smith from Chicago. He worked on the big high-rise buildings. He was a steel worker and married 4 years. And one day his wife dropped him off at work. And she always did that. But this particular day, she didn't bring him lunch, which she usually did, and she didn't pick him up from work. When he got home to their apartment, he found it emptied out. His 3-year-old and his almost 1-year-old child were gone with his wife. And he had no idea where they had gone. He thought perhaps they'd went to her family in Georgia. He called the family. They had no idea. He was beside himself. He had no idea where his children were or where his wife had gone to. And he thought for sure she would call, for sure she would reach out. And time went by, and he searched. He searched everywhere he could think. He called anybody he could think of who might know where she was. Time passed, weeks passed. He had no idea where she was. You know, when he started to get this little feeling, this little voice, have you ever had that? That little voice that was saying to him, they're close by, they're here somewhere, they're close by. And this little voice wouldn't let him alone. You know, and now 6 weeks had passed. 6 weeks, can you imagine? And it was a Friday, and he got this thought that he should find this old babysitter that they'd only used once or twice, and he didn't really like this babysitter. He didn't think she was that great or responsible, and he didn't think she kept a clean house. And then he remembered they hadn't even used her since their son was born, and that was silly. Why would he think about that? But you know, that kept nagging at him, This Friday that he got home from work, he sat, and he says in when it was a meditative state, because he couldn't remember where this woman lived. And all of a sudden it came to her where she lived. And he got in his car and he drove over there, and a child opened the door, and his daughter came running up to him, and he looked to see where his little boy was, and his little boy was in the playpen, and he saw his dad, and he raised his hands and started to cry. And the babysitter said, your wife dropped the kids off 6 weeks ago. She left 2 weeks worth of babysitting money, and I haven't heard from her since. She said, on Monday, I was going to call social services. You know, how does God show up in our lives? Are we paying attention? Those God stories, all those things, little or small. Where can we find God? Do we recognize God? Do we know that it's Spirit? Do we give thanks for it in that moment, knowing that God's got our backs? You know, I had several experiences in my life that I would call God stories. Some were more profound than others, you know, but it's just that assurance, that knowing. And I have a friend that always says, honor God, because we want to say, well, that's odd that happened, right? But is it God? It's God. I catch myself acting sometimes as if there's not a God. Either God is everything or God is nothing. That's how I live my life. Either God is everything or God is nothing, because God can't just be in some places and not in some other places, right? If God is God, then God is everywhere. So I want to live my life with that knowing. I want to walk in that walk of knowing. So when I find myself in worry, if I find myself in fear, then I have to ask myself, well, where is God? Where is God in this? Where is God in this? To know that Spirit is always showing up. Even in a pandemic, right? Even when it doesn't look like I have enough money to pay the bills. No matter what the appearance is, Spirit is there. My prayer today is that I may always walk with the knowing that Spirit's got this. Whatever it is, Spirit's got it. My only job is to remember. My only job is to remember that God is truly all that there is. And to know that God is in all places, at all times, always. God bless you. So glad that you're here with us today. Thank you for being here. Thank you. And we bring back Jamie Lula. That's just a fun name to say. Jamie Lula.
That is a fun word name to say. So this is a song I actually just sent my son a text to say I am singing grateful this morning. There's my boy in a bucket in the backyard under the sun. And he was probably a year and a half old, sitting in that bucket, and I just sent him a text to say, I'm so grateful to you, and great opportunity for us all to just look at the people that we love and just be grateful for what we do have. So this is for William. I know he's not listening, probably editing a film, but it's called Grateful. There's my boy in a bucket in the backyard under the sun. He's got his head down looking in the water just to see what he'll find. It won't take too long till he's off to search for somebody else. I'm gonna pay close attention to the moments just to see for myself. I'm not waiting for the time to be right. I'm gonna give that boy my life like I want it for myself. I can't go back to where I've never been. There's always a choice, I'm choosing him. I'm so happy with my baby boy, and my wife, she bring me love and joy. I'm so grateful, grateful, I am so grateful, grateful. Now there's a woman in my bed with a past that I recognize. It's not mine, but I know where she's been, and I realize we got together for a reason, and I just can't run away like I did in the past. Now I made a commitment to stay. I'm not waiting for the time to be right. I'm gonna give that girl my life like I've never known myself. I can't go back to where I've never been. There's always a choice, I'm choosing them. I'm so happy with my baby boy, and my wife, she bring me love and joy. I'm so grateful, grateful, I am so grateful, grateful. you see, I've fallen down for so long, now I stand in your grace. I know that you are the spark in my step and light on my face. I am so grateful, grateful, 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 don't you feel a little grateful, grateful, I am so grateful, I'm grateful, so grateful.
Beautiful. Oh, so beautiful. You know, Jamie, your songs carried me through practitioner training, through ministerial training. I just love your music. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yes. Oh, we're blessed. We are blessed. See God everywhere. We do. Let's see, a couple of announcements, and then I'm going to do a prayer, and we'll have our offering, and then Rebecca's going to sing, and then we're going to do our affirmation. I think that's the order, something like that. Anyway, the announcements are that we'll be having winter classes soon starting. They'll be starting in January. Dr. Christian will be teaching Foundations online again. We have 2 new classes that we're going to be launching, 2 new classes out of the home office that have been released. We have a brand new education director who will be starting January 1, but she's coming on now to get the winter class schedule up. That's Jennifer Diallo. She's a beautiful practitioner. She comes to us from home office. And she was at David Alexander's Center before she went to work at home office, and now she's here living in Encinitas, and she's here as our new education director. So we're really excited about that. We're going to be launching all kinds of new stuff next year, 2021. It is not too late to send in your pledge cards. You know, I'm just looking to kind of see what came in, and we are only about $10,000 away from what we were at last year, which is like amazing. Amazing in this time with us being socially distant. You all are saying, yes, count me in. I'm part of Seaside, and I would love it if we can break that mark before Dr. Christian gets back. So if you haven't sent in your pledge card, send it in this week so I can tally it up and we can break that last year's mark. That'll be really great. Let's see, your practitioners are available for prayer after service. You just go to the link, the Zoom link, and they'll put you in a private room with a practitioner, and you can have a prayer. Please, if there's anything going on with you that you'd like some support for, call your practitioners. Call your practitioners. They're available to pray with you. I think I'm getting everything. I hope I haven't forgotten anything. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pray. And then Reverend Rebecca, I've made you a minister now. Rebecca's going to pray us out. There you go. So just turning within. Recognizing there is only one power, one presence, one love. God, good love, whatever name I call it. I know that there is only one thing happening here, and that is God expressing in, through, and as all things. From the rose bush to the baby, it's all God. It's all God. And I know that I am one with this divine energy. And just as this is true for me, I know it's true for each one here. I know that each one is a magnificent expression of God. Perfect, unique, individualized, perfect exactly as they are. Each one is here on purpose. There is for a reason. There are no mistakes. There are no accidents in God's world. Each thing is unfolding perfectly in divine order. And I know and I claim for each one a perfect unfoldment of their lives. I'm knowing that Spirit is right where they are in every encounter, in every conversation, in every relationship. It is God speaking to God. And I know and I claim for each one that there is a healing going on in any area that is less than how one would like it. If there's an appearance of lack, an appearance of limitation, an appearance of illness, I know that that just dissipates right now into the nothingness from which it came, and all that is left is goodness in God expressing. I know for Seaside Center for Spiritual Living that it is a place of divine unfoldment. It is a place where the Spirit is felt. It is a place where the light shines brightly. I know we continue to grow and expand and to do the work that we've been called to do in the world. I know that we are absolutely sourced to carry on all the ministries that we've been called to do, knowing that there is no limitation. There is no limitation to what Seaside can be and what Seaside can do. And I know for everyone that's written a prayer in our prayer request chest or online, that that prayer is answered. That Spirit says yes, that it is the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. I know for anyone that is suffering from any anxiety or worry, that that too just dissipates and fades off into the nothingness. And in its place, there is love and light and joy and certainty, knowing that Spirit is right here and right now, that that creative intelligence of the universe is creating in a new and beautiful way, a new world, a new way of being, a new beginning, that we're stepping into this amazing future that is revealing itself to us day by day, minute by minute. It's with a heart full of joy and gratitude for all that has been, for all that has slipped away, and for all that has remained, that I just simply release these words into the divine nature of the law, knowing that the seed has been planted. There's nothing left to do but just allow it to be. And together we say, and so it is. And so it is.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand.
But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go. Let it all go.
And
This is what you have to say.
I release
and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
wherever you are, sing it with us.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Yes! Whoa! And our affirmation is, I am a living expression of the divine. One more time together. I am a living expression of the divine. God bless you. Have a beautiful Sunday.
Amen.